Why am I so confident that we're going to achieve a discovery or two there? This is really rich geological real estate. It's delivered some major mines. These targets we've developed really have very compelling, very strong geochemical anomalies where we can put the drills on, and as we did with GT at Saddle, have a lot of confidence that we're going to deliver something significant.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and please leave us your comments below just to help us understand what you're thinking, what questions you'd like us to ask, and generally what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. It also tells us a little bit about what you think about the company. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen. And for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Keough, who is the CEO of Evergold Corp. They're a BC project developer and explorer. They have two projects, Snoball and Lion Gate. Now they're looking to replicate the success they had with GT Gold. So we talked to him about how he's going to do that. They're going to field in June, should start seeing some drill results by September, October later this year. We talk about how he hopes to develop value for the shareholder. Kind of interesting, quite honest approach to that. A lot of other things discussed. Take a look in the description below. Anything interests you in particular, click on that timestamp. That'll take you to that part of the video. Hope you enjoy what Kevin has to say. Hey Kevin, how are you, sir?
Oh, good, Matt. Thanks. Very good.
Good, excellent. So you're at home, social distancing and avoiding people, are you?
I am at the minute. I think all of us are getting used to this new way of operating.
We are. Well, look, thanks for joining us today, taking time out of your day. Why don't we kick off, give us a 1-minute overview of the business, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. We're a very new company. We went public late last year. We're an explorer. We're not a producer, so don't look to us for dividends or anything else. This is strictly a capital gains opportunity. We believe we can deliver those gains this summer in our first drilling campaign on some really sexy looking targets that we've developed.
Okay, well let's develop on that. So you're, in terms of what it is that you are, what it is that you set out to be. So you're relatively new. So what is it that you set out to try and build?
We set up a new company. We're trying to achieve discoveries. That's really what we're interested in as a company. We want to deliver discoveries with the drill bit that return capital gains to our investors. We aim to achieve discoveries of merit. By merit, I mean discoveries that could lead to a mine, although ultimately we don't intend to be the ones to develop a mine if we're lucky in the early stage discovery. So we set up a fresh company. We put into it one or two really key attractive properties, and we advance those properties privately to the point of being drill ready. And then we take the company public. We use the public dollars to drill these targets that we've developed for the first time. And that's really all investors care about, our drill results and discoveries of merit that can drive the share price higher.
Okay, so you've done this before?
Yes, we have. Yes, our previous company, the one we're best known for currently, is GT Gold. It's listed on the TSX Venture Exchange. That company has a major discovery that a partner of mine, Charlie Gregg, who's a really well-known geologist in Northwest BC, and I were really the key people behind GT. We set it up. We did all the early discovery work, discovery drilling. And that's actually GT's Saddle discovery is emerging as the largest copper gold discovery in the northern part of the BC's Golden Triangle in the last 20 years. So it's really big. So
tell me about some of the numbers there, because if you're trying to emulate something like that, what did shareholders make from that? Were they happy with what you did?
Yes, well, typically the way it goes, Matt, with these early stage companies like ours is they are very volatile, right? Because you start from pennies typically of several hot spikes, and you often give it all back again. And sometimes you go through a cycle like that several times during the course of achieving these discoveries. And that's very true what happened with GT Gold. And it's true, by the way, of several other companies that I've run in the past. You deliver a discovery, and these days with the internet, etc., you have no control over how high it goes. And usually it goes very high, i.e. from pennies to dollars on large volumes. And then over a period of time, it'll give it back. So that's what happened with GT. They had at least 2 spikes where they went from pennies to $2 to $3 on huge volumes, and then over time gave it back. So there have been some serious capital gains opportunities for investors in GT Gold. I know some people have made a lot of money, but now it's actually trending toward mining, or that is being a mine. And you asked about numbers. I think and I know that GT current management are going to be delivering their initial resource sometime in the next couple of months. And I expect those numbers will be very large and rich.
Right. Okay. And tell me a little bit about, why you've chosen to just focus on this component in terms of like project generation. You're explorers. Why not take it all the way through?
Yeah. In fact, the reason I'm personally excited by discoveries, I like it. It's really interesting work. All of us at this end of the business do. It's not boring. We do a real mixed bag of different sciences involved, geochemistry, geophysics, etc. But I like the discovery element. And I'll tell you as well that it's really at the pointy end of the business, the discovery end, where most of the value gets added. You're familiar with the Lassonde curve, right? Most people are in the business. In the early going, a discovery typically does lead to these very spiky gains and volatility that we talked about earlier. Later, when you get into overcoming the permitting and the mine building challenges, applying the metrics, proving how big it is, that kind of gets boring to a lot of investors, and a lot of them go away, especially the early speculators. They sell out, move on to something else that's exciting. After going through that so-called valley of death that comes after the initial spikes, you typically have a second stage of value creation and addition where the mine gets built. They've overcome the engineering and financial challenges. The mine gets built. It goes to much higher prices, maybe $2, $10, $20. But we are focused on that first stage, the first kick at the can where we achieve a discovery, and that's exciting.
Okay, so you better tell us about the 2 projects that you've put into Evergold. Where did they come from, and why have you selected them?
The company's projects, we have 4 at the current time, but 2 are flagships. One is called Snoball, the other is called Golden Line. All of these properties come from C.J. Gregg, Charlie Gregg. Charlie is a really well-regarded, very highly experienced geologist in northwestern Colombia. So all 4 of these projects are in British Columbia, Canada. The flagships are in the north of the province in an area that's come to be known as the Golden Triangle and the east arm of the Golden Triangle. This is really rich geological real estate. It's delivered some major mines, and there are operating mines there right now, even with the COVID-19 phenomena or pandemic. There are mines operating now. And so the properties come from Charlie. I've known Charlie quite a few years and had been attracted to these properties. We set up Evergold prior to GT Gold, and in fact had mothballed Evergold for a couple of years just to focus on GT. And last year, I decided to move back to Evergold and to reactivate the company. And we took the company public late in 2019. So,
right. So let's come back to the model of GT Gold and what you're trying to do here, and to try and replicate those peaks, because that's what's going to interest people. Yes. It's not a lot of trading on, it went down at this level. let's be clear, typically.
Yes.
Right. But if you can get in and you can take advantage of these if you are able to recreate that, that could be exciting. So what is it that you're going to do with both of these assets? Have you got enough cash to focus on both of them, or are you going to focus on one and then the other as you proceed?
Our plan, and as I mentioned, we went public in October last year with an initial public offering, right? So this was not a private placement with a limited number of people. You mentioned, and of course, it is often the case that many of these early stage companies are illiquid, that it can be hard to get into. That's actually not so much the case with us, because I set up and we structured the company and we did an IPO, an initial public offering, so that we could sell the stock widely. So to give you an idea, more than 350 new investors came in on the IPO late last year. That means that although we have quite a tight capital structure right now, only about 27.5 million shares out, it actually is a pretty good trader because the shares are widely held. So you can buy open market. In fact, Thursday last week, we were the top performer on the TSX-V, and that just wasn't in terms of percentage gain. We were actually up, I think, 30% or something like that. But actually volume, I think, was well north of 1 million shares. And a lot of that buying came out of Germany, believe it or not, because we were listed not long ago on Frankfurt. We set the company up. It's relatively liquid. What we're going to do is we're going to use the roughly $2.5 million, $3 million we netted from the IPO last year to drill for the first time these targets that we've identified on our two flagship properties, Snoball and Golden Line. And you might ask, why am I so confident that we're going to achieve a discovery or two there? Mainly, Matt, it's because the kind of work we did geologically, we did a lot of geochemistry. Geochemistry is important. Why? Because it proves that there's metal in the ground, right? You sample the rock, there's metal in it, you can have confidence that that's worthy of targeting some attention to. You sample soil that happens to be sitting right on top of a ridge, i.e. it's not been moved from somewhere else, and it's got gold or silver in it, you can have a lot of confidence that you put a drill there, you're probably going to drill it in the rocks below too. So these targets we've developed really have very compelling, very strong geochemical anomalies where we can put the drills on, and as we did with GT at Saddle, have a lot of confidence that we're going to deliver something significant.
Okay, so this year, how much cash have you got? You've talked about your PowerPoint, you had $2.5 million at one point. I don't know when this document was last updated, but where are you today?
Yes, today we've got about $2 million cash. We've already put out some of the or paid for some of the expenses we anticipate from the coming programs this summer. We have planned a phase one drill program on both our flagship properties, Snowball and Line. So what's exciting is we're planning to drill both these properties more or less concurrently this summer. And we do, I believe, feel pretty confident that we're going to be delivering some pretty significant numbers from the work that we do. So it'll be an exciting summer, a couple of projects running concurrently, drill projects, and that's really all investors care about are drill results.
They do, but how many meters are you talking about? What's the plan?
Well, the first phase, and these numbers will vary when we get in the field and finalize the locations exactly, but roughly 2,400 meters on phase one on both projects. So a total of about 4,800 meters approximately.
Okay. And what, so you say that the market likes drilling, they like results. And I'm interested in talking to you because, I'm wondering at what point do you stop and go, right, I think we're now are appealing to another company who you may or may not be in discussion with. Where are you taking this thing through to? Are you going to have to raise more capital to get through to that point or not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm forthright with people. These little companies are capital pools, right? You go through cycles of fundraising. So you can expect this company, which is not generating any revenues and has no hope of generating any revenues, it's going to need capital going forward to continue to advance these properties. If we achieve a discovery with the capital we have now, the plan is to raise more money at higher prices at some level, and we can't really predict what that level will be. But again, it comes back to what I said at the beginning. The opportunity here for your shareholders is really capital gains. It can expect it to be volatile, but we have a track record of delivering discoveries, and those discoveries have generated very significant capital gains. But if you get your gains, I tell people you should take some money off the table and then let it settle back, let the stock settle back and give it some time to find a new floor, then buy it again. Because if you've got a good team and you really have a significant discovery on your hands, it's going to go higher again. And eventually it'll stay up, but it'll be a rocky road.
Sure, I think that's true. That's true of many companies. I'm trying to get from you is an understanding of where's the point at which you, the management team, make a decision as to where you want to move along and move out of the way for the next team.
Well, there will be phases to this discovery and development pathway that we are hopefully embarking upon now. Typically, it's very hard to say what the actual numbers would be or have to be in order to attract a major at some future point in time. There's no guarantee that you'd ever attract a major, but it's fair to say that if the scale of the discovery is ultimately shown to be big enough, and if the grade is shown to be rich enough, and there's kind of a balancing of those metrics that comes into play, coupled with other factors, the access, how remote it is or not. There are different levels, different resource scales, different discovery metrics that could attract different players. And honestly, I don't have at this point a objective in mind other than to say when we talk about a discovery of merit, one that could lead to a mine, that would be generally a multi-million ounce gold discovery or a gold equivalent discovery that we're looking for. Saddle, to give you an example, will be very large when they come out with their numbers. I don't have any understanding what they will be, but it could be 10 million gold equivalent ounces. That's the sort of scale that we really shoot for. But even at that level, you can't be sure that somebody's going to take you out. So our focus initially is just the discovery. We want to achieve the discovery.
Okay. How do you guys, you and your partner, reward each other? I mean, how are you remunerated? Mm-hmm. Is it salaries, shares? Do you buy in the open market? How's it work?
Yes, actually, most of us, the key insiders, in the case of Charlie Gregg, he vended the properties, these 4 properties, to the company entirely for stock. And Charlie is not an officer or an insider. He's an insider of the company, but not an officer. So he's been remunerated primarily with equity. He also is a consulting firm that provides some services to the company on a contract basis. I'm remunerated with an annual cash retainer, $150,000. I put in $250,000 of cash, real cash, at 10 cents. And of course, I get options as well. So I have equity, I have options, and that's how we're principally compensated.
Fantastic.
I would do this work, honestly, I would do this work for nothing. That is for equity. It's, but we need a certain amount to live.
Yeah. No, I understand that. That's very good. Thank you for that. So Are there any sort of meaningful individuals or groups in this? I know you didn't raise a lot of money, but have you attracted anyone because of what you did at GT Gold that maybe we would know?
Oh, very much so. Actually, and you mentioned that, we didn't raise a lot. That's true. It's true that we didn't raise, 10 or 20 million. I've raised on initial public offerings with prior companies like PC Gold, more than $10 million initially. But we actually raised a significant amount of money last year in the context of what was happening in the wider markets. Believe it or not, our IPO at $3.5 million, just shy of that, was the largest IPO in Canada in the mining space, last year. And I'm not talking about, a private placement into a shell or anything like that. I'm talking about a clean IPO. Ours was actually the largest. So last year was a tough year to raise money in Canada in mining. And we raised more of it than anybody else for an IPO. So the reason we did that, we're able to do it, was the reputation of Charlie and myself, and the fact that the little company was structured very attractively, coupled with these prospects. The targets are really compelling. So it was kind of a mixed bag that really allowed us to achieve the success we did. So
okay. As you said, everyone's interested in numbers. So when is this drill plan going to actually succeed at delivering some numbers to the market? What's your timing?
Well, the timing is getting pretty darn close now, right? In fact, we'll be on the ground setting up camp on both properties starting around June 15th. So what are we at? We're at the end of April now. Right? It's only 6 weeks away. In fact, I can tell you, we'll be doing our initial survey flight on about May 20th. That'll be a survey, just environmental survey by air. So it's starting to get very close now. And we'll launch serious elements of the program June 15th and then just work as long as we can. I mentioned we've got these phase 1 programs planned. If the program is successful in the first phase and if events unfold kind of like they did with GT on our saddle discovery, we will expand that program and run it as long as we can. That would be out until probably the midpoint of October, something like that. So when I said we'd have a program that is roughly, 4,800 meters of drilling split between 2 projects, that's just the first phase. It could end up being triple that if we have a discovery on our hands.
Okay. Kevin, thanks very much for running through that. I just wanted to talk to a company in your position. You've obviously got a good track record there, and understand how you are intending to go about setting this up and then sort of talking to the market and delivering stories into the market. It sounds like you are obviously great that you're going to be, getting out there. Hopefully, COVID-19 restrictions don't seem to be affecting too much of the mining happening in BC. But can you stay in touch with us? Let us know how the drill program is going. As it goes.
I'll do that for sure, Matt.
Yeah.
I would say one thing I didn't mention is we actually have been busy on the ground even over the last several weeks. That's because we had to do some bridge work on the roads, the access roads to Golden Line, which is one of our 2 flagships. That work went very well because we were teamed up with the local First Nations and the BC government to do it. So, and we mentioned last week in one of our press releases, just a week ago, that COVID-19, the virus, is not very prevalent in interior BC. They're following kind of the Korea curve rather than the US curve. And we've got our protocols in place and everything is go for the summer programs, truly go. We're lining up, we've got all our contractors lined up. So we'll be deploying and it should be an exciting summer.
Looking forward to it. Well, we'll speak soon. Thank you very much for your time today, Kevin.
Well, thanks very much, Matt. Appreciate the interest.